My name is Henry Thurun, and this week's Torah portion is Noach, often translated as Noah in English Bibles. It includes the famous account of when God flooded the world. He commanded Noah to build an ark to preserve life during the flood. Genesis 6:19, and of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds after their kind, of animals after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive. So here God commanded Noah to bring 2 of every kind of animal on the ark. Also, in Genesis 7:2 we read, you shall take with you 7 each of every clean animal, a male and his female, 2 each of animals that are unclean, a male and his female, also 7 each of birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive on the face of all the earth. And it wasn't just 2 of every kind of animal. Noah had to bring 7 of every kind of clean animal and bird. And there's debate whether this verse is saying 7 total of each kind of clean animal or 7 pairs of each kind of clean animal, which would be 14 of each kind of clean animal. How many is that? Well, according to Wikipedia, over 1.5 million living animal species have been described, of which around 1.05 million are insects, over 85,000 are mollusks, and around 65,000 are vertebrates. It has been estimated there are as many as 7.77 million animal species on Earth. With 2 of each kind, that would give us from over 3 million to over 15 million animals that Noah had to bring. Given this, a question I've often heard is, how did all the animals fit on Noah's Ark? To answer this question, I'm going to read from an article by this name that Creation Ministries International has on their website. That article references these previous studies, especially the 1997 study by Woodmorop. His name will come up again in this commentary. The article breaks up the question of how the animals fit in the ark into 2 sub-questions. 1, how many types of animals did Noah need to take actually? And 2, was the ark's volume large enough to carry all the necessary types? First, how many types of animals did Noah need to take? The article examines the list from the Bible we read earlier that consists of birds, animals, and creeping things. In the original Hebrew, the word variously translated as animal, beast, or cattle in these passages is the same, behema, and it refers to land vertebrate animals in general. And vertebrates are animals with backbones. The word for creeping things is remes, which has a number of different meanings in Scripture, but here it probably refers to reptiles and amphibians. Noah did not need to take sea creatures like fish because they would not necessarily be threatened with extinction by a flood. And Noah did not need to take plants either. Many could have survived as seeds, and others could have survived on floating mats of tangled vegetation, as seen today after severe storms. The article then references Genesis 7, verse 22. All in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life, all that was on the dry land died. According to Genesis 7:22, the flood wiped out all land animals that breathed through nostrils, except those on the ark. Insects do not breathe through nostrils, but through tiny pores, trachea, in their exterior skeleton or shell. God instructed Noah to take 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and its mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and its mate, as we read in Genesis 7:2. Actually, Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14 list very few clean land animals, so the vast majority of animals were not classed as clean and would have been represented by only a pair. Now, Genesis 6:20, which we read at the beginning of this commentary, used the term kind to categorize the animals that would be taken on the ark. But what exactly is a kind? The next couple of slides are going to use some terms that are often used in categorizing animals. mainly the bottom three here. We have family, then genus, or in the plural, it's genera, and at the bottom, species. As you can see, the family is the bigger grouping of animals, followed by the genus, and then the species being the most specific categorization. God created a number of different types of animals with much capacity for variation within limits. The descendants of each of these different kinds, apart from humans, would today mostly be represented by a larger grouping than what is called a species. So this is pretty much saying what the Bible calls a kind of animal differs from what we call species today. It would be higher up on this ranking system. Identifying the kind with the genus is also consistent with Scripture, which spoke of kinds in a way that the Israelites could easily recognize without the need for tests of reproductive isolation. So this is saying the kinds mentioned in the Bible were visually apparent and easy to differentiate. So when people usually think of bringing two of every kind of animal, they think of two of every species. The article is saying, however, that it was higher up than that, like two of every genera or family. For example, horses, zebras, and donkeys are probably descended from an equine or horse-like kind, since they can interbreed, although the offspring are largely sterile. So instead of taking 2 horses, 2 zebras, and 2 donkeys, Noah would have only taken 2 of their common ancestor. Dogs, wolves, coyotes, and jackals are probably from a common canine or dog-like kind. So instead of bringing 2 dogs, 2 wolves, 2 coyotes, and 2 jackals, Noah would have brought just 2 of their common ancestor. All different types of domestic cattle, which are clean animals, are descended from the aurochs. So there were probably at most 7 pairs of domestic cattle aboard. The aurochs itself may have been descended from a cattle kind that also gave rise to bison and water buffaloes. We know that tigers and lions can produce hybrids called tigans and ligers, so it is likely that they are descended from the same original kind. Now, just to clarify, this isn't evolution. Offspring from within a family would still be members of that family. 2 mammals wouldn't eventually lead to 2 reptiles, for example. Now, just needing to take 1 or 7 pairs of each genera is a lot less than taking 1 or 7 pairs of every species. Woodmorop tallied up about 8,000 genera, including extinct genera. Thus, about 16,000 individual animals had to be aboard. So Woodmorop concluded that what the Bible considers kinds of animals are far less than the 7.77 million species Wikipedia suggests. The Bible does not say that the animals had to be fully grown. The largest animals were probably represented by teenage or even younger specimens. It may seem surprising, but the median size of all animals on the ark would most likely have been that of a small rat, according to Woodmorop's up-to-date tabulations, while only about 11% would have been much larger than a sheep. And that brings us to our second sub-question. Was the ark large enough to carry all the necessary types? Genesis 6:15, and this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. The ark measured 300 by 50 by 30 cubits, which is about 450 by 75 by 45 feet. So its volume was 1.52 million cubic feet. And here's a pic I found online comparing the ark's dimensions to an American football field. To put this in perspective, this is the equivalent volume of 522 standard railroad stock cars, each of which can hold 240 sheep. So based on my math, this is going with the railroad stock car size of about 2,900 cubic feet. If the animals were kept in cages with an average size, some would be much bigger, others smaller, of 20 by 20 by 12 inches, that is 4,800 cubic inches, the 16,000 animals would only need 42,000 cubic feet or 14.4 stock cars. Even if 1 million insect species had to be on board as well, it would not be a problem because they require little space. If each pair was kept in cages of 4 inches per side, or 64 cubic inches, all the insect species would need a total volume of only about 37,000 cubic feet, or about another 12 cars. So this would leave room for 5 trains of 99 cars each for food, Noah's family, range for the animals, and airspace. However, insects are not included in the meaning of behemoth or ramus, so Noah probably did not have to take them on board as passengers anyway. The ark would probably have carried compressed and dried foodstuffs and a lot of concentrated food. Perhaps Noah fed the cattle mainly on grain plus some hay for fiber. Woodmorap calculated that the volume of foodstuffs would have been only about 15% of the ark's total volume. Drinking water would have taken up less than 10% of the volume. This volume would be reduced further if rainwater were collected and channeled into troughs. I put together this pie chart quick, demonstrating the calculations from the last couple slides. The chart represents the total volume of the ark. The brown represents the 16,000 animals. The dark blue represents the 1 million insects. The green represents the food, and the light blue represents drinking water. As you can see, these calculations indicate the vast majority of the ark would have been available for other storage and open space. Now, I recommend creation.com and Answers in Genesis as a couple sources to study this further. Skepticism about the flood and Noah's Ark have often been used to question the validity of the Bible. I hope this commentary helped demonstrate that we can trust the Scripture even all the way back to its first book. Shabbat Shalom.